Good evening, friends. Let us be still for a moment, take a breath and rest. What if every unanswered prayer was not a denial, but a direction? What if the silence you hear isn't God refusing, but the presence inviting you to listen rather than plead? Tonight, we are not here to get God to move. We're here to discover that God already is. The real reason most prayers never get answered. Most prayers fail because they begin in fear, in the belief of two powers, trying to use words to force the world to change. True prayer is not persuasion, it is awareness. It is the quiet turning within, where the one presence is realized and the need dissolves as the right form appears of itself. When we stop begging a distant power and awaken to the presence within, the I at the center of your being does the work. Stay with me. In these moments we'll uncover the single mistake that blocks most prayers and practice the simple inner shift that turns petition into demonstration. If this resonates, like the video, comment 111 as your symbol of alignment and subscribe so you don't miss the brief practice we'll do together. Because in just a few minutes, you may discover that the prayers you thought were ignored have been answered all along, in a language most of us were never taught to hear. Let's look at the first shift prayer as awareness, not persuasion. Persuasion is the voice that begs, bargains, repeats phrases in hopes of moving a distant power. It starts from lack and assumes separation, that I am here, need is there, God is somewhere else, and words are the ropes we throw across the gap. Awareness begins from a different fact. There is a presence already here, closer than breath, not needing to be convinced or informed. In awareness, prayer is not an attempt to change reality, it is a willingness to let reality change me. It is less like mailing a request and more like opening a window. The air was present all along, the opening is in us. Imagine standing in a dark room rearranging the furniture to create light. That is persuasion. Awareness is the simple act of flipping on the switch. Or think of a radio, you do not manufacture the song, you tune. When we pray as persuasion, we cling to words, hours, formulas, thinking more effort equals more results. When we pray as awareness, we rest, listen, and consent to be tuned. The ocean does not ask the wave to become wet, the wave relaxes into the ocean it already is. In that relaxing, something subtle happens, fear loosens, urgency quiets, and what needs to be known, felt, or done begins to appear of itself. This is not passivity, it is clarity. Awareness does not cancel action, it purifies it. From awareness, action arises as response rather than reaction. You might suddenly remember the person to call, sense that a doctor's visit is wise, feel to forgive, or see a practical step that had been invisible under the noise of panic. But the step is not coerced by anxiety, it is revealed by stillness. Persuasion tries to get life to obey a script. Awareness lets you recognize the life that is already unfolding intelligently and moves with it. How do we shift? Begin by noticing the felt texture of persuasion, tight chest, rushed breath, mind racing through outcomes. Name it gently, that's persuasion. Then pause. Breathe low and slow. Let the shoulders drop. Ask, without trying to answer with words, what is aware of this? Turn attention from the content of thought to the fact of being aware. Feel the aliveness in the hands, the rise and fall of the belly, the space around the body. If a request arises, offer it once, simply then rest again in the quiet sense of presence, as if listening for a distant sound that is actually very near. Let silence do some of the praying. Notice the shift in language. Persuasion asks, how do I get? Awareness asks, how do I see? Persuasion projects a future, awareness inhabits the now. Persuasion accumulates words, awareness deepens attention. Persuasion measures success by outcomes, awareness recognizes success by the emergence of peace, clarity, and a quiet confidence that does not depend on circumstances. Even if nothing outward changes immediately, something truer has taken the seat at the center of you, and from that center decisions become cleaner, relationships soften, timing improves, and what once felt blocked begins to flow, not because you convinced the universe, but because you stopped arguing with it and started seeing what is here clearly now. Now we face the subtle obstacle, the belief in two powers. As long as you secretly hold that there is God on one side and something else on the other, disease, debt, conflict, fate, you will try to use the good power to whip the bad one. That inner tug of war is the static in prayer. One moment you affirm presence, the next you scan symptoms, balances, headlines, giving the appearance equal status. You are tuning two stations at once, while the noise you hear is not God's refusal but split attention. Two-power thinking gives fear its credentials. If lack is a power, you must hurry. If disease is a power, you must panic. If a person's will is a power, you must manipulate or submit. Then prayer becomes a strategy meeting. How to get the bigger force to crush the smaller one. But in awareness there is not a contest to win, there is only one cause revealing itself. A shadow on the wall does not battle the sun. Remove the obstruction and the shadow cannot argue to remain. It has no personal agency. So with every threatening appearance it has form, it has sensation, it has a story, but it does not have independent power. This is not denial of appearances, it is refusal to grant them authority. Denial resists and secretly believes, refusal quietly withdraws belief. You can still see the doctor, negotiate the bill. Set the boundary, change the schedule, you simply no longer treat the condition, bill, person, or calendar as a rival to reality. When you stop deputizing appearances as powers, fear begins to drain out of the body, and in that quiet the next sane step becomes visible. Often the same outer actions are taken, but they are taken from composure rather than compulsion. Practice it in small moments. When a message arrives that spikes your pulse, pause and name the seduction. I'm being invited to believe in a second power. Breathe. Feel the ground under your feet. Let attention sink from the spinning narrative to the felt presence that was already here before the message. Gently acknowledge. There is one life being itself right where this situation seems to be. Stay with that recognition without trying to make something happen. If a step presents itself, take it. If nothing presents itself, keep consenting to the one power and let timing rearrange. Impersonalize the opponent. Instead of that person, see a pattern of fear, pain, conditioning masquerading as a person without malice or might of its own. Instead of my body is failing, see a set of sensations moving within awareness that is not threatened. Instead of the economy is against me, see collective movement within the same vast life that breathes you. This softens reactivity. You may speak a firm no, ask for help or walk away. Firmness that arises from oneness carries no hatred and tends to be strangely effective. The test is simple. What are you granting power right now? Is it a calendar, a diagnosis, a comment, a memory, an image of the future? Each time you notice the second power being enthroned, slip it off the altar and return to the nameless center. Not with force, with recognition. Your task is not to make the one power stronger. It cannot be. Your task is to stop practicing the second one by rehearsing its stories, fearing its outcomes, arguing its case in your head, feeding it attention, until it seems to stand like a giant over your bed at night. And when you refuse its worship, you discover it shrinks into the insubstantiality it always had, while the quiet within grows luminous and practical in ways the intellect cannot plan, and when fear is quietly enthroned, pleading rushes in to serve it. Pleading is the nervous system's theology, a tight, breathless monologue that says, if I say it louder, longer, more desperately, maybe I'll be heard. But the very energy of pleading is contraction, and contraction narrows receptivity. A clenched fist cannot receive a gift. A shouting mouth cannot hear a whisper. The presence by which we live speaks in a register beneath agitation. The more we perform for an imagined distant power, the more we miss the nearness that can only be sensed when we are not performing. Fearful prayer keeps checking the door. Is it here yet? Is it working? Every check is another tug on the seed you just planted. and the soil cannot do its quiet work while it is being pulled up and inspected. Notice the physiology of pleading. The breath gets high and shallow, the jaw sets, the brow knits, the gaze narrows, the mind floods with what-ifs, rehearsing outcomes as if worry were a down payment on safety. In that state we mistake noise for devotion. Even our affirmations can become fear in religious clothing, repeating phrases like incantations, peeking after each round to see if results appeared. That peeking is the giveaway. If the peace you seek depends on the outcome, fear remains in charge. Receptivity begins when you allow peace to be present before the outcome moves to shift. Tend first to the body. Lengthen the exhale. Let the shoulders fall by their own weight. Unclench the tongue from the roof of the mouth. Feel the soles of the feet, the weight of the hips. The simple fact of being supported. Place a hand on the chest and let the warmth spread. Hum softly to settle the vagus nerve. Then, without trying to solve anything, ask inwardly, what is aware of this? Turn from the content to the context, from the story to the space in which the story appears. Let one simple acknowledgement arise. Hair, and rest in it. If a request forms, voice it once, lightly, then return to listening. Treat silence as the active ingredient, not the absence of action. Relate to fear as you would to a startled child. You do not argue or scold, you gather. I'm here. This gathering is not a technique to force a result, it is love restoring safety. As safety returns, awareness widens. In that widening, options appear that panic had hidden: a call to make, a sentence to speak, a question to ask, an appointment to book, a boundary to set. The action does not spring from bargaining, it rises from clarity. Sometimes the clarity is a step. Sometimes it is a quiet, not now. Sometimes it is the seeing that the thing you were pleading for was never truly yours, and the relief of that recognition is itself an answer. Expose the subtle forms of pleading. Tests. If you're real, make this happen now. Deals. I'll do X if you do Y. Timiditables. Be Friday or else. Scrutinizing for signs every few minutes. All of this keeps attention tethered to lack. Gently interrupt the loop. Return attention to the felt sense of aliveness that is here without condition. Let gratitude arise not as performance, but as the natural fragrance of contact. Thank you not for getting, but for being. When you notice yourself checking, smile, soften and re-enter the listening. Receptivity is not passive, it is participatory stillness. Make small daily experiments. Before sending the message, pause for 2 breaths and listen. Before opening a bill, place a hand on the belly and feel the inhale expand, the exhale soften. Before taking the pill, acknowledge the one life expressing as intelligence in the body. In traffic, relax the grip on the wheel by 5% and sense the space around the car. Each micro-consent trains your system to recognize peace as home, so that when larger waves come, you are practiced at staying open. The signs of receptivity are simple and quiet: a spreading warmth, a softening in the eyes, the sense of being larger than the problem, a stable okayness that does not require immediate change. And when fear is quietly enthroned, pleading rushes in to serve it. Pleading is the nervous system's theology, a tight, breathless monologue that says, if I say it louder, longer, more desperately, maybe I'll be heard. But the very energy of pleading is contraction, and contraction narrows receptivity. A clenched fist cannot receive a gift. A shouting mouth cannot hear a whisper. The presence by which we live speaks in a register beneath agitation. The more we perform for an imagined distant power, the more we miss the nearness that can only be sensed when we are not performing. Fearful prayer keeps checking the door. Is it here yet? Is it working? Every check is another tug on the seed you just planted, and the soil cannot do its quiet work while it is being pulled up and inspected. Notice the physiology of pleading. The breath gets high and shallow, the jaw sets, the brow knits, the gaze narrows. The mind floods with what-ifs, rehearsing outcomes, as if worry were a down payment on safety. In that state we mistake noise for devotion. Even our affirmations can become fear in religious clothing, repeating phrases like incantations, peeking after each round to see if results appeared. That peeking is the giveaway. If the peace you seek depends on the outcome, fear remains in charge. Receptivity begins when you allow peace to be present before the outcome moves to shift. Tend first to the body. Lengthen the exhale. Let the shoulders fall by their own weight. Unclench the tongue from the roof of the mouth. Feel the soles of the feet, the weight of the hips, the simple fact of being supported. Place a hand on the chest and let the warmth spread, hum softly to settle the vagus nerve. Then, without trying to solve anything, ask inwardly, what is aware of this? Turn from the content to the context, from the story to the space in which the story appears. Let one simple acknowledgement arise here and rest in it. If a request forms, voice it once, lightly, then return to listening. Treat silence as the active ingredient, not the absence of action. Relate to fear as you would to a startled child. You do not argue or scold, you gather. I'm here. This gathering is not a technique to force a result, it is love restoring safety. As safety returns, awareness widens. In that widening, options appear that panic had hidden: a call to make, a sentence to speak, a question to ask, an appointment to book, a boundary to set. The action does not spring from bargaining, it rises from clarity. Sometimes the clarity is a step. Sometimes it is a quiet, not now. Sometimes it is the seeing that the thing you were pleading for was never truly yours, and the relief of that recognition is itself an answer. Expose the subtle forms of pleading. Tests. If you're real, make this happen now. Deals. I'll do X if you do Y. Temptables. Be Friday or else. Scrutinizing for signs every few minutes. All of this keeps attention tethered to lack. Gently interrupt the loop, return attention to the felt sense of aliveness that is here without condition. Let gratitude arise not as performance, but as the natural fragrance of contact. Thank you not for getting, but for being. When you notice yourself checking, smile, soften, and re-enter the listening. Receptivity is not passive, it is participatory stillness. Make small daily experiments. Before sending the message, pause for 2 breaths and listen. Before opening a bill, place a hand on the belly and feel the inhale expand, the exhale soften. Before taking the pill, acknowledge the one life expressing as intelligence in the body. In traffic, relax the grip on the wheel by 5% and sense the space around the car. What each consent trains your system to recognize peace as home, so that when larger waves come, you are practiced at staying open. The signs of receptivity are simple and quiet: a spreading warmth, a softening in the eyes, the sense of being larger than the problem, a stable okayness that does not require immediate change, and a readiness to move or to rest without argument. From here, stillness is not the absence of life, it is the uncluttered presence of life. It is the quiet in which what is always true becomes obvious. You do not manufacture stillness any more than you manufacture sunrise. You stop adding noise. The ever-present good is not a mood or a lucky break. It is the underlying rightness of being itself, the seamlessness that persists beneath headlines and heartbeats. When you touch stillness, you are not creating good. You are letting it be seen. Consider a lake after wind. While the gusts blow, the surface is chopped. When the wind falls, the water reveals the sky it always held. The sky did not arrive with the calm allowed the reflection. Stillness functions like that. It removes distortion. In the undistorted field, guidance is simple, kindness is natural, timing is intelligent. You glance and know without debate. You are no longer picking from a menu in the dark. What the lights are on, this knowing is not loud. It is a soft yes, a clean no, an unforced step that carries its own ease. Stillness is not withdrawal from responsibility. It is the ground from which responsible action arises. The mind imagines stillness as doing nothing, but true stillness is full of movement. Breath moving, blood moving, leaves moving outside the window. Only now the movement is recognized as held in something vaster that does not hurry. In that recognition, worry loses its justification. You can make the call without dread, read the report without drama, face the diagnosis without surrendering your center, because you are standing in the awareness that precedes circumstance and gives it context. Practically, cultivate micro-stillness. Pause at thresholds. Before you open a door, check your phone, start the car, send the reply. Let your attention sink from the forehead to the heart area. Feel the body as one field rather than a cluster of parts. Sense the space around you, as if the room itself is breathing. Let the exhale lengthen by a count or two. Whisper inwardly, be, and mean it. Do this for 20 seconds and notice the texture shift. In that shift, the good begins to be felt, not as fireworks, but as a quiet okayness that does not need to be earned. Let thought do what thought does while you rest as the one who notices. Like snow in a shaken globe settling grain by grain, ideas, fears, and plans descend to the bottom, and the scene becomes clear. The point is not to silence thought by force, but to stop handing it the microphone. As the volume drops, gratitude rises without choreography. You find yourself grateful not for an outcome, but for presence itself. That gratitude is a sign you are aligned with the ever-present good. From here, what to do next is often the simplest thing you have been avoiding, and you do it without the old friction, in conflict. Stillness creates room between trigger and reply. You feel the heat, but you are not the heat. In the few seconds of spaciousness, you hear the sentence that heals rather than wins. You sense the boundary that is firm without spite. You recognize when silence speaks better than an extra paragraph. In worry about the future, stillness shortens the imagined distance. It brings attention back to the only place strength is available. This breath, this step, this call. In grief, stillness holds the ache without commentary until tenderness, not argument, carries you to the next hour. Let stillness become a rhythm, not an emergency switch. Morning before the day claims you. Midday when the tide is highest, night when the mind replays scenes. A minute here, 30 seconds there, eyes open, eyes closed, posture upright, or while washing dishes. Over time you recognize that stillness is not something you enter. It is what you are briefly obscured from and then revealed to again. The ever-present good is like that. Closer than your next thought, senior to your next plan. The quiet ground that keeps showing you that you are already held, already sourced, already resourced, and this recognition invites the deeper shift from the anxious, achieving, me, to the indwelling, I am. The me is a college name, history, preferences, triumphs, wounds, always measuring, comparing, trying to become. The I am is prior to the college. It is the bare fact of being, the luminous awareness that was present before the first label and remains when every label falls away. This is not ego made divine. It is the discovery that the real I was never the ego at all. I of myself can do nothing, is not defeat, it is doorway, the Father within. Presence, life. The One does the works through a transparency called you. Think of sunlight through a window. The window does not generate light, it allows it. When identity is the me, the window is smudged with self-concern and everything looks dim and separate. When identity relaxes into I am, the glass clarifies. The same life situations are seen, but the seer is different. The me asks, how will I make this happen? The I am knows, life knows how to express here. The me clutches outcomes and tightens. The I am abides and acts from a settled center. This shift is subtle, but its fruit is unmistakable. Effort becomes right-sized, timing becomes intelligent, and help appears in ways planning alone could not arrange. Practice the felt sense of I am, without adjectives. Sit or stand and notice. Before any thought about yourself, you are. Let the simple recognition, I am, surface like a quiet bell. Resist the reflex to finish the sentence. I am busy. I am behind, I am sick, I am talented. Those are weather. I am is the sky. Rest your attention in that sky for a minute. When thoughts arise, what meet them with? Seen. When sensations arise, meet them with felt. Return to I am. If a word helps, use a light touch. Be a I, not as mantras to force a state, but as pointers to what is already present. Over time, this recognition migrates from a practice into a posture. You find yourself moving through the day as the noticing, not just the narrative. Then let action flow from that posture. Before you dial the number, pause and feel I am. Before you answer the accusation, feel I am. Before you check the account, feel I am. The pause is not procrastination, it is alignment. From alignment, words come cleaner, steps come simpler. You may discover that half of what the meh was doing was compensatory noise, and the other half becomes twice as effective with half the strain. The body recognizes this shift, the breath deepens, the shoulders drop, the gaze widens, and a quiet authority, free of aggression, infuses your presence in the room. Guard against the counterfeit, the spiritual me, that claims, I am God, as a personal boast. The true recognition is humble, tender, unhurried. It does not make you superior, it makes you transparent. It softens judgment, because you see the same life peering out of every face, including the one you used to resent. It loosens self-attack, because you see that shame is just another costume on the same frightened me. And compassion belongs there too. And it does not cancel practical care. You still see the doctor, answer emails, budget, apologize, change a tire. Only now the doing is an expression of presence, not a frantic audition for worth. Try a simple inquiry in heated moments. Who is thy? That is upset right now. Find the sensations, yes, but then notice the one who notices. Does the noticing have edges? Is it harmed by the feeling it holds? Rest as that. Let the feeling be exactly as it is inside the vastness that you are. Then speak or move from that vastness. Often the sentence that arises is fewer words than you would have used, and it lands with more truth. Often the step is smaller than you imagined, and it opens the larger door. The I am is not in a hurry, it is exact. It does not bargain, it reveals. It does not strain, it shines. Let the personal sense be a servant of that shining, a pair of hands guided by a heart that is already home, and let your day become a practice of consent. Turn within, listen, let it act. Begin in the smallest moments. Before your feet touch the floor, feel the fact of being here. Attention settles from the brow to the heart area. The mind may still hum, but you are listening under it. Offer an inward invitation, not to command but to open. I'm available. Take one quiet breath to seal your attention in the body now. Nothing to figure out yet. Let the first step of the day arise from the felt sense of rightness rather than from habit. Often it is simple: drink water, stretch, send the note. As you move, keep a light tether of attention inside. When a decision appears, pause for one breath. Ask what serves wholeness here. Notice the body's feedback. Guidance has a texture, spacious, unhurried, quietly affirmative even when it asks for a hard boundary. Compulsion has a different cast, tight, noisy, urgent to prove or to avoid. Choose by texture. Take one clean step, then stop and listen again. This rhythm, step, listen, step, keeps you from outrunning the light you're given. Let it act through your words. Before speaking, feel the soles of your feet. Soften the tongue. Relax the eyes. Say only what can be spoken from that softness. You will find the extra sentence falls away, the tone warms, and the message lands. Let it act through your hands. Wash the dish, type the email, sign the document with the same attentive presence you bring to meditation. Mundane tasks become incense, or they carry the scent of awareness into the room. When confusion doesn't lift, do the obvious kindness. Bring tea to the meeting. Tidy the corner. Email the update you've been postponing. Often obedience to the small, clear good opens the larger door. When no action is clear, keep your agreements and keep still inside. Do not manufacture guidance to relieve discomfort. If a deadline demands a choice, make the best one available from peace and leave room to adjust. Turn within at thresholds, before calls, before doors, before sends. Use a simple inner cue. Here I'm listening. Feel for the slight inner nod or shake of the head. Sometimes you will sense wait, and waiting will prove wiser than pushing. Sometimes you will sense go, and the way will meet you as you move. Keep a brief record of these moments. Write what you sensed, what you did, how it unfolded. Trust grows when you witness your own experience. Release the need for signs to validate obedience. You are not auditioning for approval, you are aligning with reality. Let results take their time. Judge the tree by its fruit, more peace, cleaner energy, kinder courage. If agitation returns, return with it to the quiet. Breathe and reconsent. Let it act in conflict as clarity and mercy. Let it act in planning as simplicity. Let it act in rest as permission. Let it act in healing as cooperation with care. Let it act in money as stewardship. Let it act in service as quiet kindness. The sense of being the doer relaxes, and life is lived through you with less friction, more grace, until prayer is no longer an event, but the way you stand in the world, awake, receptive, responsive, and